Button. That's it.
Right. So, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Um, we'll let Danny do an introduction because he's good at these things.
Okay, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think there's only one lady there, in inverted commas, but there we are. Good evening, Walt, and good evening to everybody else on there. Now, I've spent quite an interesting afternoon where I should have been doing something else, watching videos of Walt. And yes, I quite liked one of them where you actually constructed an antenna. I was intrigued by the tools, though. I tell you what, some of them I think I'd have thrown in the bin myself, but there we are. Um, I know America is well famed for a famous brand of tools. Well, two, these snap-on ones, of course, which I
Right.
have a great big load of them. But there we are. I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to this. So, um, I know I thought to myself, well, this might be a little bit boring, but I don't think it's going to be boring at all because I watched another one by somebody else and I still can't make head or tail of what he said. So there we are. This one I can understand, and hopefully we are all going to enjoy it. And seeing as it's been recorded, then we may be able to let the other people who can't be here tonight for any reason at all to have a listen. So I'll hand over to Simon back again because he's in charge of doing everything. But welcome, Walt, and it's
Thank you.
nice seeing you. And
Thank you.
yes, unfortunately, you can't speak Welsh, should do it in Welsh, but there we are. We'll accept it in English for this time. So thank you very much. I'll leave
Thank
it
you.
to Simon to do it.
Yeah. So it's a great pleasure to have Walt here this evening. Um, Walt's got a book. He might mention it. Which there you go. Snap. Which was this what copy was arrived last week, courtesy of my young lady Beth, who bought me that one. And as we live on a lot of us live on or around a small island called Anglesey, northwest Wales. There's quite a few designs that might get played with, but there you go. And that was a nice typical welcome from Danny. It might be good or it might be boring, but you'll be good because he's seen worse online. So over to you, Walt. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys so much. It's an honor to be here and just chatting here before we got started there. I feel like I've known you guys forever. So it's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much. I'm Walt K4OGO, and I have a little YouTube channel called Coastal Waves and Wires. Before we start, I'll tell you how Coastal Waves and Wires came to be. I've been an engineer for 45 years. I work in the shipbuilding industry, and I started out as a draftsman on the board, and then making molds and templates for building ships here in the States. And that never went away as the technology went to computer aided design and everybody doing stuff, designing ship parts, which I did as well. I never stopped sketching things up, and I've been a radio hobbyist since I probably 12 years old. I built my first shortwave receiver, started in the shortwave listening world, and then medium wave DXing, and like so many people that are my age, I'll be 64 this year. I got caught up in that whole CB 11 meter craze, and just I've always loved radio. But one thing I've done over the years is that as I've built antennas and done things in ham radios, I keep a sketchbook and I'll sketch up the antenna I'm building. Fast forward to about 2018, 2019, right around in there. Like everyone else, I was on Facebook, and I'm on this Facebook group about building antennas. And my job, fortunately, I'm what's called a field engineer. So when we start a project, let's say we're designing a ship or a facility, I'll start with the guys in the office in the design group as it's in its early stages, and then as it gets to the point to where it's maturing and they're going to start building this ship or whatever, I'm the field engineer. So I'm the guy they would send down to the waterfront to get yelled at by all the guys that were building it. You know what I mean? Because they would be reading our drawings, and I would have to if something was wrong, come up with a quick sketch and solve a problem. So I kind of bring that into my hobby of radio. It's funny, I'm a structural engineer, so that's why I love radio and electronics, because it's not a job for me, it's fun. And I would just sketch things up. Like I said, fast forward now, I'm in this antenna group on Facebook, and I'm getting ready to go on one of these treks. My company, my boss comes to me and says, "Hey, Walt, we need you to go somewhere for about a month and work as a field engineer. Can you do it?" I go, "Sure. Where's that at?" And they said, "Kauai, Hawaii." I said, "Oh yeah, no problem. I'd love to do it." You know what I mean? So lucky me. So I know I'm leaving, and I start thinking about what radios I'm going to take, what I'm going to do, and I'm on this group, and I start sketching up these antennas and posting them on Facebook. And there's just this, like there always is, there's this one guy on there that's just absolutely picking me to death, saying everything I was sketching was wrong. That won't work. You're creating, no, don't do that. And living by the sea my entire life, I know that vertical antennas down by the water are just amazing. I mean, I do at a very early age. The old saying here, horizontal by land, vertical by sea. So I'd sketch these vertical antennas up, and I was putting them on this group, telling them, "Hey guys, I'm going to Hawaii. It's going to be great." And this one guy just kept pounding at me. So I said, "You know what? I've got an idea." I went and opened a YouTube account, and I said, I'm going to build the antenna, and then I'm going to get on the beach and operate. Now, I'm traveling and can't carry a whole lot. So I had just a little 5-watt, the Zygu X5105, the little small 5-watt handheld with a battery in it. And so I get there, I build a vertical. I think it was the QRP guys, 3-in-1 vertical. Anyway, I'm on the beach in Kauai with 5 watts, and it's just awesome. Talking to New Zealand, it's working like I wanted it to. And I made the video, kind of got some editing software, made the video, and I posted it back to this group. Basically, lack of another terms, it was like, nah, 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 nah. I was right, you were wrong. It's kind of how I felt. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm going to get this guy. I had so much fun doing it. And that one video, that first video, which is still up on my channel, is video number 1. That one video took off, and I was like, wow. So about 2 or 3 weeks go by, I'm back in the States now. I'm at my home in Virginia. I'm like, I want to try that again. So I go out on Virginia Beach, the little 5-watt thing. I think I had a ham stick or something, and I'm talking around the world. And on QRP, it was a contest weekend like the one we just experienced, and that video took off, and I just had so much fun with it. I kept going and kept going, and as I was doing this, I would also throw a sketch in there, and as time would go by. Well, about 3.5 years into the channel, I was just talking, and I had like one of my channel updates or whatever, and people were really asking me, say, "Hey, can you pull all your sketches together and maybe put them in a PDF file and and put it out there for us? We'd love to have them." I said, "You know what? Yeah." I said, "I'm kind of thinking about putting them in book form or whatever." I said, I'll do that." The next morning was a Monday morning. My phone rang, and it was a Connecticut phone number. I was like, I don't know anybody in Connecticut, but I'll answer it. And I did. When I answered it, the guy on the other end goes, "Hey, Walt, I watch all your videos, man. Love your videos. This is David Minster. I'm the CEO of the American Radio Relay League. I'd really like for you to put all those sketches in a book and do a book for us. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Let me think about it. Yes, I'll be interested. I'll do it." You know what I mean? Right away, I was pretty excited. So that's how this book here came to be, the first book I've ever done. I mean, everybody bucket list want to write a book. I say it's more like a comic book in a sense, because it's just drawings and sketches or whatever. But I put it all together, and I was I was tickled pink that they would want me to do it. But part of my channel and what I like to do, because I travel up and down the coast, over the last 3 years or so, I'd build an antenna and go up, and like we all know, there's so many people out there on YouTube land that just build an antenna and I'll make the video of it or whatever. I kind of wanted it to be a little bit more about the experience and operating and getting out portable. And I said, you know what do I do after every build? If I'm on the beach or whatever, I usually come off the beach and either hit the pub for a pint or go somewhere and eat, or what have you. So I started adding to the videos all these little seafood, shacks on the side of the road that I would go to, a clam shack or, shrimp. We call them shrimp shacks or whatever. And unbelievable, when I started doing that, it really got popular. So I kept doing it. So when I put the book together, David, the CEO of the American Radio Relay League, said, and I want you to put the food in there as well. So a lot of people don't like that or whatever, but hey, that's kind of, what the book's all about. It's about building antennas, but at the end of each chapter, there's a little roadside place that I visited and done, and had food at or whatever. But now moving beyond that, what it is to me to build portable antennas, I think I've built kits, I've done, DIY projects or whatever as a ham. But one thing that I think even the newer hams, the one thing we still have left that you can really experiment with and build and learn from is building antennas. It is the truest form. And to me, an antenna is just a tool. It's the tool to learn even more. Getting out portable in different locations, like me, mostly by the sea, but sometimes not by the sea. Getting out there and building an antenna has taught me more about propagation. And I like to tell everybody I'm a DXer. Everybody's going, hey, when you going to activate POTA again so we can spot you? We want to catch you on POTA. Nothing against Parks on the Air, but I'm not a Parks on the Air guy, because here in the States, if I call CQ Parks on the Air, I know I'm going to talk to 200 Americans. I'm a DXer. I like to get out there and talk to people in other countries around the world. But so for me, building portable antennas is my way to learn about propagation more than anything. I mean, I get up early morning. I'm going to tomorrow morning, for instance. I get up during our gray line after you guys, and I know this because I worked in Poland and I was in Europe for 2.5 years. After you guys get through with talking to VK Longpath during your morning, and the morning hits over here, we talk VK, short path. And like tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up and head out on the beach, and with hopes, I've got a new antenna that I'm going to talk to my friends, which I've made a lot of, in Australia. That's, to me, I had to learn how to do that. And for me, a vertical antenna by the sea, all the gain that I get with the low, I can almost tell you from my location what takeoff angle I need to be at with the antenna to get to either the VK6s in Western Australia or up a little bit more the VK4s on the east side of Australia. I've learned this through building antennas and experimenting. Same with me getting over to you guys. I've got a spot that I go to. If I know I want to make UK contacts, be it on 10 meters or 15 or whatever, I've got a spot near me on a beach that's almost due north of me because of the way that, that's another thing, the Great Circle and how I reach the UK and Europe. I've learned all that from building different antennas and doing different things. So I guess if there's one thing I try to preach to people, get out especially if you're able to. I know a lot of us, and I'm not getting any younger either. A lot of us have a hard time. Weather, I mean, I just went through, it was one of the worst winters we've ever had here. It's drove me crazy, but get out and operate portable, because I think building an antenna, building a different antenna off and on, even if you're going to the same spots, teaches you more about propagation and about what we are as amateur radio operators than anything else. It's all about doing and operating. And that's why the book that I've got here, my sketchbook, I kind of mentioned it in there. I put that together in hopes that especially the newer guys, that they'll get out and experiment and learn, about propagation, about the bands, what band at what time, and what's going on. And it's just a great learning tool as far as building antennas. I know me, I just said earlier that I'm a DXer. I was just convinced. We had if you guys, I don't know if any of you guys made contact with any of us, but last weekend was the Virginia QSO party here in Virginia, and conditions were horrible. I don't know if you remember. It was like we just went through a G2, G3, solar event. And I never thought about going out on the beach and building an NVIS antenna, but I took a 40-meter dipole, stretched it between two fine UK made or at least produced DX Commander poles, and I put a reflector underneath it, and I operated NVIS. And that was, I mean, as long as I've been in the radio and doing whatever, it was a learning experience for me. I realized in the middle of solar storms, when conditions are horrible, an NVIS antenna doesn't have the delayer absorption that a signal does on the angle, and I was penetrating right through and getting down to 300-400 miles around me, and everyone back to me was 5-1 or 4-4. I could barely hear them, and I was sitting there on the beach with low power, and they were all telling me I was S9 10 over. You know what I mean? And that's something I learned. But like, wow, who would have ever thought that I was on 40 meters in the daytime? I was like, I've never thought about going out in the middle of the day on 40 meters daytime with an NVIS antenna and trying to make contacts, because I'm always set in my ways trying to work DX. And I think that that was a great learning experience for me. I'll probably be right back out there for the rest of the year working DX, but that's just it was something to learn. And I think that one of the things that bothers me, when I post a video or whatever, I always get a comment, well, my go-to antenna is an end-fed half wave. And I want to say, like, okay, that's great, but you're going to use that end-fed half wave the rest of your life. There's so much you're going to miss. Just like me telling you all I was missing by never building the NVIS antenna is, is what it's all about. So to me, building antennas and experimenting, and like I said, for me, sketching them all up and sharing them with my hopes are, we all know that this hobby isn't exactly, with everything else in the world, computers and everything else that younger people are doing, keeping our hobby alive and going, and and inspiring people. I kind of hope that's what I'm doing with the book. With that said, I am. Last week it was the final from me. It's in the final editing productions now. They asked me to do a second book, and the next book, what I did was, I don't know if anybody's followed my channel over the last year, but I've done a vertical with a director, vertical with a reflector. I got the ML&S vertical Moxon. I've done hex beam. I did a lot of different, like taking it to the next level of antenna building for portables. And that next book will be out in May, and that's to accompany this one, full of sketches of the next step of antennas, once again with my hopes of the newer people. And I've gotten a lot of comments from new people that saying I would have never thought to get out and build antennas. I love doing it now, and I'm hoping to keep them going so we can keep the antenna building going. So long-winded there, I'm sorry, but guys, thank you. I'm up for any questions. You guys can hammer away at me.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that introduction, Walt. It is a bit of a roundtable discussion. Those of us who live up in the northwest of Wales here, I'm sure have been out on the beach portable. So it'd be interesting to see if any of you have got any comments about operating portable coastal or anything else. But let's have some. Tom, you might need to unmute yourself. I think most people are muted.
Walt, Stu here, GW0ETF. Have you ever used vertical dipole array?
Yes, I have. I've done a couple different ways. I've used a standalone vertical dipole, and I've also took a vertical dipole with a reflector behind it. I've done that on the 10-meter band. I used the Callum's Expedition. I have two Expedition poles, which are just under 10 meters, which you can get a 10-meter vertical dipole pretty much up and on it, and then I did a reflector behind it. Amazing. It was great. It was like I said, great results for it. Fortunately, we're at the top of the cycle right now, so 10 was is where it is. I don't know if that antenna would have been the same antenna 4 or 5 years from now, or 4 or 5 years ago, but yeah, I did that recently, about 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, I'm determined to get around to checking that out this summer.
I did find this with two elements, and I've modeled it and used it with two elements. For some reason, I seem to get more gain with a director than a reflector using just two elements.
Yeah.
I have noticed that. Just, I mean, I can't put the theory to it. I don't scientifically know what's happening there. And I did use them on different days at different times, but it seemed to me like the director was working better than the reflector. And that could have been the way the wind was blowing the poles. I don't know, but personally, I had a better experience with a director.
That's interesting. I'm just looking at OHTV. I think it was from a 9 Mike 0 Oscar. They used them there. He's got a bit of a website there with them on, but they look all driven element reflectors on those. But there's some nice pictures of them.
You would think the reflector would be the better deal, because think about it. The Moxon, it's a reflector. You know what I mean? A hex beam is using a reflector. All of those are reflectors. But I actually did some research when I got back. And there's people that swear up and down on two elements that the director is the way to go.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, Walt. Hi, Phil Short here. A question for you. Which is better, counterpoise or radials?
Boy, this is a debate. Either way, I mean, I'm not. And if you're talking radials, if you're meaning raised radials, that verbiage. I tell people this: if I lived, talking here in the States, if I lived in Utah, away from, or not, that's probably a bad example. If I lived in Colorado, raised radials would probably be good for me. Living by the sea, I'm on top, and I get down in that wet sand. I'm on top of the greatest ground plane in the world, being next to the water. I mean, raised radials would probably still work awesome for me, but I like to call it, we have a television advertisement here for paper towels or napkins that say it's the extra absorbent napkin. I like to think that when I put counterpoise wires in wet sand, that whole area around it, it's the extra absorbent napkin that's giving me even a better ground plane below it. I know they're not tuned. I know, for what have you, but my experience is, I tell you, I could go tomorrow morning. I'll put counterpoise wires, a meter or two from the ocean in the wet sand, and I guarantee you, I can talk all the way to VK land with 5 watts. That's it. It works. And once again, it's just what works for me.
Excellent. It was interesting to hear about your NVIS. I did watch that video as well with the NVIS experimentation. It's something we were talking about in the Dragon Club a couple of weeks ago, because we're looking to be out, because we're on the coast, but also we've got a national park with mountains just a few miles away as well. And we want to be able to do some, maybe sort of talk from one valley to the other using HF. So we were looking at NVIS, and it was just interesting to see you've been playing with it as well.
I'm kicking myself right now. I spent 2.5 years in Europe, and I never built an NVIS antenna. And I could just imagine my logbook full of all the other European countries. I mean, it was that way anyway, but what I could have really done with an NVIS antenna, I wish I'd have done it earlier. I wish I'd especially done it when I was over there.
Yeah, I think most of us in the UK with small gardens and things quite often have dipoles that are quite low to the ground for 40 or 80.
Right.
And so we do an awful lot of NVIS sort of type work, but we're talking about bringing the antenna down to about 3 feet off the ground, really running it really low to the ground, so we can try and just jump from one mountain valley to the neighbouring valley. So that'll be quite interesting to experiment with. But I'd say,
well, one thing though, 40 meters for you guys and 40 meters in Europe, being a person that's operated in both continents, the American 40 meter band is so much different than the European 40 meter band. I mean, we have that extra, we go all the way up to 7,300. And, but for me, I get on 40 right now. 40 is nothing but local nets and, regional nets. And it's different. When I was in Europe, I get on 40 meters. I stayed on 40 meters all the time because I could get all these other countries. You know what I mean? The only time you're going to work any other country other than the States, the other states here in the United States on 40 is at night when when 40 is a DX band. But in the daytime, the American 40 meter band, and not even just the the where it's at and located, but just what it's used for. The American 40 meter band compared to the European 40 meter band is just two different animals. It really is.
Well, it's interesting that you got to 7.3. We've got to 7.2, but it's certainly in my I've been licensed since 2001, and in the first 5 or 6 years, we ran it until 7.1. So we
Wow.
had 7 to 7.100, and the whole of Europe was busy talking to each other in a very, very small segment of band. Anyway, anyone else got a question, please?
Yeah, can I just ask one about? I've got a lovely little magnetic loop antenna, 1 meter in diameter, but has obviously wondered, like, for QRP stuff, going down to the beach with that one, because it's like I can imagine it throwing it out at all the different angles, like as a vertical type thing. So,
Right.
have you tried a magnetic loop?
I have. I just did a couple weeks ago. I went out, but it was a cheap. I have a very good magnetic loop. I have an Alex loop, and I went out on the beach with the Alex loop, and I gave it away. I had the Alpha AL 705, and I've taken that out on the beach. And on the beach, I've had great success DX wise. I think, as you're saying, we're throwing it out, but being on the salt water, that throw it gets more. You know what I mean? I'm getting more gain off the water. And with the Alex loop, I was just amazed how well I did, because that was recently, 3 or 4 months ago. The other, I got a mag loop. I've got 3 of them now. I have a 2 Echo Zero ERO from, if you're familiar with him there. I've got one of his from over there with you guys. I have the Alex loop, and I bought just, on a whim. I on eBay I saw that they're the made in China, cheap $99 one. I said, oh, well, I'll buy it and get out on the beach with it. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'm right by North Carolina. I go out on the Outer Banks. I went out on a pier with it over top of the water. That was a disaster, because I wish I'd have taken a better mag loop out. That one was, I think it was the product itself, not the theory of the mag loop. But I got a mag loop with that, because I traveled so much. I had this romantic idea that it was going to be my hotel balcony wonder antenna. I learned that no, it is. And the other problem to me, that I'm a hunter. I don't call CQ a whole lot. So trying to hunt, and then, if you use a mag loop, as soon as you pull your hand away, you're coupled with the antenna itself. Learning, to the guys that use them and are good at them, God bless you, but it is a skill set to learning how to use a mag loop as well. I have struggled, but on the beach with them, I say I struggle when I'm not away, but on the beach with them, they're amazing. They work great, especially if you're going to find a spot and call CQ, and you're aiming in a direction. They work well.
Right, lovely.
Have you tried a kite antenna?
I have. Matter of fact, a couple months ago there, I went to right here where I live here, just south of me in North Carolina, is where the Wilbur and Orville Wright flew the Wright Flyer, or flight began. There's a big monument there, and it's a POTA park. So I went to a kite. I talked to a pro, like a professional kite store there, that they have them, being that area is such a flight area, and it's on the beach. And I bought a kite and put an infed half wave on the kite and took it up. And I went to where flight began. I thought it would be a cool place to do a video, the Wright Brothers Memorial, and operated with a kite. The day I did it, it was one of those, the wind was off again and on again, but when it lofted and it got up with infed half wave, I took my old Yaesu FT450D, pumped 100 watts in it, and man, it was awesome. I had a blast with it, a lot of fun.
I've tried it years ago now. The problem I always had was the amount of static it would pick up. Whether I put a neon bulb at the bottom, or a resistor, or just a one-to-one transformer with another DC resistance to deck to about only a few ohms, I could never get away from even if it wasn't enough charge on the antenna to blow the front end, which it did once. There's just picked up so much noise. The only time it kind of worked, if I did an antenna with a triangle, half of it along the ground, half of it up, and a third of it along the ground, a third of it up, and a third of it back. That kind of worked. Or a very damp, foggy, misty day where there was no static buildup. But other than that, hopeless.
That was a very common comment on my kite video. Everyone was saying you didn't do anything to discharge the static. You didn't, and no, I just put a 49-to-1 with a wire up in the air. I didn't have a problem. The thing is, and I don't know if it was the first time I had used this antenna. It was a little small 49-to-1. I do remember when I got through and I was reeling it in. I put my hand on the unun, and that thing was like smoking hot. I was like, wow, I've never experienced that before. Like and I don't. That might have been from what you're, maybe the static or whatever, that thing was acting almost like a choke. I don't know, but that the transformer was as hot as I've ever seen any transformer after operating.
Yeah, just talking of kite lifted antennas, when I lived in the Midlands, so in the middle of the UK, we used to go out and do a lot of kite flying with aerials, trying at least. And myself and a friend put up a full wave a top band loop up with 3 sled kites to hold it up. So it took us about an hour and a half to get this thing in the air, in the dark. So you just got through grey line, working around Europe really well on top band, and then the wind died down, and we spent about 6 hours untangling the blooming mess. So it wasn't that successful, but I just thought I'd add that into the kite debate. But they are great fun. But as you say, Ian was saying, that the static is an issue, and we didn't really solve it either. Anyway, questions from someone else.
Hi, Walter, Tom here. Just wondering, have you used the G90 with the JPC Pack 12 antenna? And if you have, how did you get along with it?
Got along well. Well, I tell you what, I've done some amazing work with that radio and that antenna. I don't know if you've ever tried the cap hat on those. There's the capacitance hat accessory you can get for the JPC, and I don't know. I mean, people will argue with me and debate it or whatever. There's some theory out there that it lowers your takeoff angle. Using the G90 and that JPC 12 is the only time in daylight, during the gray line in the morning in daylight, that I spoke from the US to Australia on 40 meters. And I had the cap hat on it at the time. Like I said, coincidence, maybe, I don't know, but that was one thing for that. But yeah, I love it. The thing about the G90 is like, and I always said, to me it's a great radio for travel. I think it should be everyone's first HF radio when you're getting started, because of the built-in analyzation tools. You know what I mean? I could get the G90 and the JPC 12 and just hit the SWR sweep and watch it sweep, and then just go adjust it. And you know what I mean? And you could almost mechanically, with that little radio, just adjust the thing and bring it in, and then hit quit, you know what I mean, and go and start talking. That's the cool thing about those two together.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Walt. I'll try that this when we get a bit better weather in the spring or summer. Yeah, cheers, Walt.
Yes, some better weather would be nice, wouldn't it? It's been a pretty mixed bag this last few months. I don't know if Danny or anyone has got any anecdotes of using aerials portable around Anglesey.
A couple of questions here to start with. When we talk to the Americans, and a lot of them, especially if they're really loud, they've actually got gardens which are about the size of Anglesey, and antennas which are 200 foot high and running about, well, we won't say how much, but well in excess of a kilowatt, I dare say. Do you ever use that sort of equipment?
No, that's our Italian Americans that do that. No, I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm not that guy. In my entire life, I've never used more than 100 watts. My friends would call me 100 White Wally. You know what I mean? I'm 100 watt. That's seriously, but I do, and that's a great point, because I get frustrated when I'm trying to work DX and break a pile up or whatever, and I've got, four or five guys that are obviously running a kilowatt with a with a beam or whatever, and you could just they're just rude for that matter or whatever. You're like stepping all over you. But yeah, but to answer your question, I'm not that guy, and but like I said, those are those Americans that are trying to be the Italians. You guys all know what I'm talking about. If you're in Europe, like the Italians are like the same
Well,
way.
I haven't got a large garden. I can't even put an 80-meter dipole up in one piece. It's bent in every direction, but it still works. It still
Right.
works okay. Second question, using very thin coax. What is it?
RG8X is all I use.
RG8.
RG8X, yeah, the same thing. Yeah, RG8.
Right, okay.
I've seen some other. It's funny. Our local DX Engineering, they have that little thin. It's orange. I forget what it is. 174, I believe, or something like that. They've been offering to send me some. I think I'm gonna take them up on it. I'd like to try it. That gets into another thing where people start debating about losses, and coax and what have you. I don't worry about that so much in my operating. Once again, I have the salt water by me that kind of makes up for the losses. So it's something I don't, I don't have a big thing like you see other American YouTubers and they're only doing it because, and it bothers me. I'm not that guy, but they're just trying to make $1 or whatever. Messi and Poloni. I only use Messi and Poloni. Tap below for your Messi and Poloni. I get mine off the cheapest stuff I can get off of Amazon is all I use. That's how I am about coax. I don't worry about it. If it, and people say, well, you're worried about being out in the elements, whatever. No, just go get another, 1999 Amazon special, 5 meter piece of coax and be back out there the next day.
Yeah, because you don't use very long sections of it, do you? It's not very long what you use, but no, I quite agree with you, Messi and whatever they call themselves on Power. No, you even need the special connectors for them, don't you? But yeah, I was certainly going to try that because I don't like putting big lengths out. It's flipping nuisance actually. I know we as a club used to use the thick wire. Then we cut down to the thinner one, and then it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. But I think if I go out portable, I'll start using this RG8X. I think I'll get some of
Yeah.
that and
I,
use
I
it.
like it. I've had great success with it. It's easy. It's pretty lightweight. And I tell you what I should do. I should buy it all up, as much of it as I can for the cheap price, rebag it and relabel it and just call it Potocoax here in the States, and everybody would pay 4 times the amount for it. So, that's how everything is over here. It's all marketing, you know what I mean? But, yeah, it's to me, it's just coax is coax as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if I was one of those guys, like the earlier question, if I was running 1,000 watts in a tower and all that stuff, and I was really concerned about, I was calculating my losses and what have you, I would probably pay more attention to it. But for me, just get a wire in the air and feed it with something, and that something is the coax.
Yeah, I quite agree with that. There's one I know of in our club who's obsessed with SWR, as they call it. And that's his main subject when he wants to talk to you. He's SWR and God knows what. So we avoid him like the plague at times. But there we are.
Well, if you quit thinking in wattage and think in decibels, um, let's just say you have 100 watt and you have losses. You have losses from SWR or losses from coax loss or whatever. And instead of 100, you're only putting out 80 watts. You tell me if any of us in this group can tell the difference between 80 watts and 100 watts when you're talking to someone. It's null. You know what I mean? It's maybe a couple tenths of a decibel. It's just not there. To me, it's not worth worrying about. I want to spend my time making contacts, not worrying about how tuned in my rig is.
Yeah. It's like the old CB days around here sometimes. What's my numbers, they used to say.
Mm-hmm.
And, there you are. It's 5 and 9 as far as I'm concerned. My meter just shows a bar across it. So you tell them, well, it's got 3 reds on it. But it doesn't mean anything, does it? In reality, it's just part way along it. The other one slight question is, do you ever use an Ellicraft, which is an American make?
They're too expensive. I don't have one. That's a good. They're great radios. Don't get me wrong. I've gone to the Dayton Ham Fest and Hamvention and Hamcation, Orlando, or whatever, and I see them there and I drool over them. They're just amazing looking radios. But and we have, just like, and to avoid politics, where we have those people here in the States, well, I'll never buy anything from China and whatever, and I understand. There's a reason they feel that way or whatever, but I mean, I would love to have one, but I don't want to take out a second mortgage on my home to buy a radio. You know what I mean? That's just how I feel about Ellicraft. They're great. And if anyone from Ellicraft is watching and you want to send me one, go for it. I mean, I'm just like, they're great. I'm just not, it's just, honestly, I'm not going, I'll be honest with you. And I've purchased every radio. Been given a lot of stuff as a YouTuber to try with, but every radio I have, I've purchased, and my next purchase is probably going to be the Yaesu FT1X, and I've been eyeballing. I waited a year for the hype to go down and to see everybody else. Plus, as a YouTuber, I try hard not to do whatever all the other ones are doing. I feel let this thing pass, and really been looking at that lately. I'm thinking about doing some traveling, and it looked like a great one to travel with. And to be honest with you, it's basically the same form and function as an Ellicraft.
If I can just jump in there, well, I owned a KX3, and it wasn't a radio I ever wanted to take out in the rain or anywhere near salt water. It just seemed too valuable and too fragile. FT817 maybe, but not a KX3.
Exactly. That's why people used to always give me a hard time about using the G90. I'm like, $399 US. What is that, about 300 pounds or whatever? I mean, if I get a year or two's worth use out of that, and if it corrodes and falls apart, because I got my money out of it, you know what I mean? I have taken it out now. When I first got it, I wouldn't, but I've got the FT710 Field, the Yaesu. That's the nicest radio I own. It's amazing. I bought it to go portable. When I pulled it out of the box, looked at what I paid for it, and looked how nice it was, I was like, I don't think I could take this on the beach. You know what I mean? But I have now. I've done it. I ended up breaking down and doing it. But getting what you're saying, Chris, the same thing. I look at that, that radio. If I'm going to pay over $1,000 for a radio, I don't know if I'm going to take it out on the beach, to be honest with you. I don't, too much of an investment.
I take a K2. So if I did get it out on the beach and the wind was blowing, I'd just take the lid off when I get back and hose it down and dry it out.
I just take I've got I bought it from new, actually, an ICOM 706 Mark II. That one I take. Well, I don't. I used to take it out, but I acquired a Mark I as well, which is, hasn't got the 77s on it. But I find that works great. So the only thing is it's a bit heavy on the juice, so, on the battery. But I don't mind not so much breaking it, but I just put it in a plastic bag when I use it. But there we are. It's you have to sacrifice occasionally, don't you? I have got like you've got a Yaesu as well, but there's so many radios in here. To be honest,
yeah,
they're everywhere. It's if you could see my shack now, which I'm not going to show you. It's not a nice, neat, and tidy one. I can tell you that. It's absolutely flipping disgusting.
Mine too. Like, you see all this right here, you don't even want to see what's behind the camera. It's just a mess. I get it.
Well, the thing is, you see, it's taken me. I'm a widower, and it's taken me quite a long time to get it into this shape. But I dare say I have started clearing a little bit, and I reckon the estimate I'll probably have to live till I'm about 300 to manage to do it. So I don't bother about dust. I reckon dust is a good preservative. That was told to me by an antique dealer, apparently.
Dust is nature's way of making bubble wrap, isn't it? I mean, it does the same job.
Yeah.
Stops things breaking. But This isn't my shack. This is a virtual background. I'm not going to show you what's behind this.
I should have done a virtual with the beach behind me. I'm going to say, this is my shack right here. You know what I mean?
So, Walt, as well as working DX from the beach, I don't know how urban where you live. You know, you live in a town, but how much noise you have when you're operating from home. But if you're anything like me in the city of Bangor in North Wales and lots of other people around the UK, and I imagine pretty much most places, that the noise floor is sort of increasing exponentially over the years, and to be able to go out, even if we're not near a beach, if we're in the middle of the UK or the middle of the US or whatever, to be able to go somewhere that's electrically quiet and be able to hear those stations that are barely S1, but you can hear every word they're saying and you can work them. That to me is just amazing, because I don't get that at home.
I live, I'll tell you my situation. I live on the top floor of a building that was built in the Victorian era. It's built in the 1800s. And I have the top flat, a 3-level flat. I'm in a historic district of Portsmouth, Virginia. And so out my back here is the fire escape to leave. And it's when the fire escape is steel, and it's got the building next to it is all flat with a steel roof. So what I did, I just have a Sigma Eurocom, the HF360, out on, it's clamped to the fire escape rail. And what I cheated though, I ran a wire from the mount to that and screwed it into the metal roof underneath it. So I got a big, basically counterpoise area, whatever. But that's the good thing. I can get out. I make some great DX contacts up here. The bad thing is I'm hearing them, and plus every razor and hair dryer and heater and everything else all my neighbors have on at the time. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. My best time to operate here from the home QTH is that first time it gets warm and everybody cuts the heater off and opens their windows and everything's off. Yeah, I know all about noise for sure. And I don't know which one of my neighbors, he's got a heater or something going on, and it's got like a harmonic or something, and it's at 14,238. Right, and on the waterfall you can see that line going up and down. 14,238 is the southern net cross. Every morning at the gray line is when all the Americans are talking to all of ZL and VK, and I can't hear nothing but my neighbor's heater going zzz, and I can see the line, and I hear it cut off, and the line goes away, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go find out which one of you guys are doing this to me and cut his line or something.
Problems with solar panels?
I've heard people that do. Where I'm at, like I said, I'm in a historic district. I think there's a code or something where you can't. I don't know of anyone around me that has solar panels, but so I don't have that issue here, but I know it exists.
Yeah, certainly in the UK, there's been an absolute explosion of solar panels and farms of them, and wind farms and everything else. So it's a new challenge. Have we got any other questions for Walt?
Hey, Walt, I don't know if you've seen it all. There's a guy keeps posting on Facebook. He's called Hobby Steve or something. There's no call sign with it, but he's going around with a LDG 9-to-1 Unan, and he just keeps clipping it to things like a supermarket trolley or a barbecue or a metal guttering, and keeps posting about how successful he's been. I
haven't seen him. I have to check him out. My friend Mike K at MRD's got a couple of videos where he takes the G90 out and does that. He goes to like guardrails on the side of the motorway, and I mean different stuff, dumpsters, and like he does that as well. I'll go look for that guy. That's interesting.
Is there anyone else? Don't be shy.
Do you ever use well, I don't know what it is in America. I think we call it the 2-meter band at all.
We have 2 meters. As a matter of fact, here in the harbor, I live right in the harbor. There's a hospital. It's a U.S. Naval military hospital. It's like right, literally a quarter of a kilometer. Right, I can look out my living room window and see it. And at the top of that is the Portsmouth Club. It's their 2-meter repeater. So I can sit in my living room, kick back, with the Baofeng and talking to nets and whatever on 2 meters here. It's pretty 2 meters. I don't do it a lot. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The radio to me ends at 30 megahertz. I'm an HF guy. I mean, it's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just my interest is HF. But yeah, it's popular here. I do have some things, and I really want to eventually get into satellites. I know I heard you guys before we got started talking about that. I was thinking about I have a Jeep, and I can drive my Jeep out on. We have beaches you can drive out on, get away from everything, no noise, and you have a real low horizon. I was thinking about getting a couple like egg beater type antennas, one for 70 centimeters, one for 2 meters, and plex them together and get out and try to chase some satellites and do stuff like that. That would be fun.
Yeah, we were listening to the space shuttle or the space station this afternoon about dinner time here. So, we did hear that, and it's quite good reception. I was stood in the garden one day, and I had a little beer thing, and they was chattering away, and it was the space station, and
I
it's
bet you
all
guys
across
would
the
be.
road.
I bet it's easier to talk to the ISS for you guys than it is here in the States. In the States, there's so many people trying to do it, and we're so big and they're everywhere that whenever you hear a flyover, I've listened in on flyovers. It's like the worst. It's like the worst de-expedition pileup. You know what I mean? It's like Bouvet Island. You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy trying to. It almost is discouraging. Like you don't want to do it even because of the craziness.
I did actually get in touch with the bloke who was on it that time, and the girl across the road came over, and she said, "Who are you talking to?" I said, "Well, he's up there." She says, "What do you mean he's up there?" Well, it is, and I said to her, "Can you say hello to the girl, Delis, I think her name was, or something like that?" And he said, "Hello, Delis." He said, "I'm right above you," he says.
Oh
And
wow.
she said, "You're all mad." And that was it. But she always knew me as the man who talks to the aliens, like she reckoned it was a load of aliens. But no, it was very interesting. I always try and catch him if I can. It's quite good. But there
That's
we are.
awesome.
Yeah, I haven't got any more. I am certainly going to get your book, by the way. I
Thank
did
you.
have a
Thank
look
you.
at Amazon today to get it there, but apparently it takes about 14 days to get it on Amazon. So I think it
Uh,
probably comes from America.
RSGB has it. You can get it at
Yeah.
the RSGB store.
Well,
Yeah,
the
so
RSGB, you see, moves with the same motion as a snail does.
Yeah,
Even though we
yeah,
have got a representative of the RSGB with us, but even a few words from him can't get it moving any quicker.
yeah.
Thank you.
That would be me, the
Yeah,
regional
that's it.
representative for North Wales. Anyway, Llanelli, is there anyone wanting to ask a question down there, or are you just hello? No, we've got no audio from Llanelli. You're unmuted, but I'm not sure what the audio situation is. Otherwise, I'd suggest typing it into the text box, and we'll pick it up that way before we finish off.
Yeah.
Sorry about this. We're just seeing if I thought there was someone wanted to ask. So, is there anyone else?
usually it's me they making it. Usually I'd be talking away and no one could hear me. So I'm like, I call them senior moments. You know what I mean? If you watch my videos, you see me make them all the time. Especially with measurements. I'll make a 25-foot antenna and 3 times in the video call it a 25-meter antenna, and then everyone corrects me in the comments. I'd say, hey, senior moment. I'm getting old.
Well, wait
You're
till you
okay.
get to 73, then you'll start feeling old. I spent half the night last night. I opened a packet, and all it was a nice little one of them.
What's that?
I can't remember what it's called now. 30 USB stick.
Yeah.
So I thought myself, okay. So I put it down on top of my phone, which was on the bench here, and then I said I'll go make a cup of tea. But when I came back, it wasn't there. And I spent half the night looking for it. And then it was only very late on, about 1 o'clock in the morning, that I realised that had actually put a magazine on top of it. And so opening the pages of the magazine, of course, you find it, don't you? Problem I was
Senior
having
moments.
was
Yeah, there you
I'd
go.
forgotten what I was going to do with it, you see.
Uh,
So it's a long process of that, it is, but I shouldn't worry about it like that. You've got quite a few years to go yet, haven't you? But I enjoyed this talk immensely. And yes,
I saw the question pop up in text too. I can't, if anyone can read that.
right, from Llanelli ARS. So, in this area, we have a large tidal range. It can be quite challenging to get close to the sea without the tide coming up too fast. Have you found that you still get the benefits of the salt water even if you are above the high tide line?
Yes. Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a good, that's a great question because I learned that the hard way. I learned that remember the little plastic True USDX, the little 5 watt QRP thing? They float. They float well, and then you can put them in rice when they get soaked in salt water and they dry out and they still work. I was out operating and the tide was coming in, and then all of a sudden a big wave came, and as the tide was coming towards me. So lesson learned for me was I kind of judge where I'm going to place the antenna, knowing the tide is going in or out. Better times for me is when the tide is going out and we're losing the tide, because I can get out in that marshy, wet area. But yes, it's great. Matter of fact, that is better than being right on the water. I mean, and that's another thing that people always go, you got to get your counterpoise wires in the water. You don't. You just got to get close enough to where that earth below you has got that salty wetness to it, because it's conducting over to the water and you're a part of it. And as I spoke of earlier, that extra absorbent napkin is absorbing it up, and it's making the connection to it.
Isn't there somewhere near Llanelli there? I saw the programme something once. There's a salt marsh there and there's sheep grazing on it. I suppose that would be nearly as good as being by the sea when on a salt marsh.
Yeah, it should. You should do well there. It should. Well, yeah.
Oh, well, just I know we don't want to keep you forever in a day, Walt, but we did the AM Club have an AM QSO party every so often. In fact, the next one's on the Marconi weekend on the 25th, 26th of this month. No, April. We're not quite in April yet, are we? But we did one a few years ago, and the Dragon Club thought we'd take part, and we ran a special event call sign from a beach on Anglesey. I forget which beach it was. Anyhow, we set a little tent up. We had a doublet or a dipole. I think it was a doublet, and a little operating tent and a generator. And I'm sat inside this tent. Danny was there, and we'd set it up, and been operating for several hours. And I thought, I swear I can hear water. And looked outside the tent. This was at high tide, and the high tide was probably about 18 inches away from the tent. And the base of the mast, which was about 7 meters tall, was actually underwater. So the coax was submerged part of the way. But for NVIS, which is what we wanted around the UK, really, we were doing UK stuff on 80. Oh, my word. It worked a treat, but slightly alarmed that the water got that close. And Danny had noticed he'd been outside. I'd been in the shack, as it were, operating with this homebrew transmitter on AM. And all of a sudden, yes, got a bit too close for comfort, that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't like to disturb him, you see, while he was going at it, but I did go and move the generator, which was mine, so that didn't get wet. But there was also another chap there with a BMW, and he was sat in the BMW operating on I don't know, 40 meters or something. He was in a stick antenna, and the water actually came all the way around his car. He was quite lucky to get out. I think he opened the door and realised might have been floating away there. The last speech it was.
The last, that's it, yeah. So it would be nice at some point, Walt. We'll have to liaise with you and see if we can get a few of us out on the beach when it's a little bit nicer out here, and see.
100%. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of times coming up this summer. What I did is 1 weekend a month, I'm taking my my camper, or like caravan, I guess some of you guys call it, or whatever. And real close to me here is the beach. Matter of fact, weekend before last, I did it. I'm going to do it one weekend a month. Maybe if you see me post on Facebook on the Coastal Waves and Wires page or something, let me know, guys, and we can message each other. That way, I can keep the traffic around me, whatever, off, and maybe we can make some contacts. That would be fun, a lot of fun. Love to do it.
And what we will have to do as well, Walt, just because we have got the Amplitude Modulation Society here as well, we'll have to try using the original voice mode as well.
I love it. I love it. I love AM. We have some frequencies here on 40 here in the States that are, basically AM frequencies. Of course, they're out of your rate. They're the other, but I've done it. I love getting on AM and doing it. Like I said, I'm a child of AM radio, man. We all are back in the day from medium wave broadcasts and listening, whatever. So it's fun to do it.
Of course, I don't know what the AM situation is like on broadcast, but in the UK, it's dying a death very quickly.
It's gone. It's sad. It's really sad. They're dropping away here as well. We do have in our government, there are trying to propose that make it a law to keep medium wave AM broadcasts in cars. Like our car makers have to put it in there for emergency situations here. So hopefully it'll make it up. To be honest with you, all American AM radio is now, it's just syndication. It's the same 3 or 4 shows on every frequency, but still it's fun to I love medium wave DX, and it's fun to be able to tune around and hear distant stations, but it's getting sad. I'm really good friends with Lewis from Manchester Ringway. He's done a lot of Lewis has done a lot of videos. Yeah. I watch on your side of what's going on over there, and I talk to Lewis probably every other day. He's kind of a YouTube Elmer to me. He's taught me how to build my channel somewhat and what to do, and Lewis is a good guy.
Excellent. Right, before we let Walt go and have a well-earned brew or lie down in a darkened room, thank you from Llanelli to everybody. Thank you, Walt.
Thank you,
Mr.
guys.
And thank you, Mr. Grumpy, for the entertainment, Danny. Is there any final questions before we sort of wish Walt the best and let him go?
Guys, I will say this. This has been a blast. I would love to do it again. Maybe in a few months if y'all want to get together again. Book 2's coming, so maybe after that's out if you want to get together. For me, I like doing this instead of some presentation and showing you slides or whatever. Let's just talk antennas and talk radio. So I'd love to do it again sometimes. This has been I'm not just saying that, I have thoroughly enjoyed meeting you guys and hanging out. So thank you.
So yeah, on behalf of all the associated clubs, thank you for coming along, Walt. Really appreciate it. Thumbs up for Walt. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
73, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Walt. Thank you.
Jess, who's Jess? I don't know which call sign Jess has got, because someone called Jess J, and I don't know who that is.
Not just Jesse James.
Be anybody. You're welcome to Llanelli. Nice to see everybody. Llanelli guys, the AM guys, the Aberystwyth guys, the Dragons. Between us, we've pulled a reasonable amount together, which is great. We will upload the video to YouTube for anyone who wants to. I know it was not like a polished presentation, but if anyone wants to catch up again or let someone else watch it, it's nice to see someone with some infectious enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think the talk was very much like his videos, though, wasn't it? It was entertaining and informative and so on. Thanks very much, Simon, for inviting us.
Well, no, it was a bit of a joint effort on this one. Guys, if anyone wants to stay and waffle, you're welcome. I'll put Merv in charge temporarily, but I'm going to go and see the XYL for a bit. And
do you want to knock
you know how to get hold of me on email, everybody, and I will catch you next time. Llanelli, nice to have you. You're welcome again. It's nice to get a bit of a collaboration because you've got a few more bodies on, as opposed to just having half a dozen of one or half a dozen of the other. That's been great. So
just say, Simon, apologies from the Colwyn Bay lot. They had a speaker tonight on